Welcome back. So today's gonna be a little bit different. It's been a pretty intense couple weeks for me, and a lot of things have gotten triggered, which brought up a lot of heart chakra healing, a lot of old things that hadn't been healed, and like unprocessed grief. So I decided I'd make a video about grief, loss, heartbreak, and the stages that come along with it, how we cope with it. Yeah, so there's a lot, and I just want to get into it, and I just want, maybe what I say, just so that you resonate and you don't feel like you're alone and going through all the things that you're going through, or just that maybe I'll give you a little bit of wisdom that can change your perspective on something that will help it to be easier for you to cope as well. I don't think this is going to be an easy video. You know, grief is not fun. Loss is not fun, and there's different types of loss. There is loss of a loved one, death, which is one of the ones I'm going to talk about today. There's breakups, heartbreak. So either way, if somebody left you, that's a loss. It doesn't make it any easier, the fact that somebody has decided to leave you, than them dying, because there's a lot of pain behind that. It's there is you deciding to walk away from somebody, and that is also a tricky one, because it's you have so much love in your heart, and especially for a person that you've been in a relationship with, that when you choose to walk away, it's you're choosing to walk away not only from this person who, in breaking up, you're choosing yourself, you're choosing to say, I deserve better and I deserve more, but it's also I know a lot of people in relationships, they stay and they wait for this person to change, and they wait for this person to change, and the person never does, but they're holding on to that hope of, well, when this person changes, and that person does not change. So they're living in disillusionment. So for them to step away and say, I choose me, and leave, especially if it's something that you've created with someone, that takes a lot of courage, that takes a lot of self-love, and that takes a lot. It's not easy, especially when you care about somebody, because just because someone's an asshole doesn't mean we stop caring about them, So okay. Loss. So when we first experience a loss, it basically triggers our trauma response. So for me, my uncle died when I was 9. So what happened was, as a child, I think I was really, well, I did go to grief group, but also I was really focused on the fact that my mom was so hurt. So I kind of projected all my emotion onto her, and helping her feel better, instead of, which how could I have known, right? I'm 9. How could I have known that I needed to process these things? Grief group helped. I still remember observing the other people in there more than feeling my own emotions. So they got stuffed down and they got stored. And I mean, there were little things I did, like, his name was Daryl, and I would sit by this tree when I was feeling sad, and I would call it the Daryl tree, and I would just sit there, and, like, now I realize, oh, I was grounding myself at 9, so it's like I always had this innate wisdom within me. But I didn't process everything fully. And after that, he died. My aunt moved to Minnesota with her kids, and I remember like wanting to be strong for them and trying not to cry, and like trying to be like everything's okay, trying to make it be okay. But it just got stuffed down. And then when I was 16, then my nanny died, and that was really hard. And at the time I was in high school, and it was just, so when I was coping, or when I wasn't coping, I was just like, oh, I'm gonna get drunk or whatever, I'm gonna get loaded, and I, instead of feeling my feelings, tried to escape them for a very long time. And it kept happening, so with each loss, until I had my awakening. And then everything changed because my thoughts about death changed, you know, my views and beliefs about what life is, how we are all on this earth planet as a part of a bigger mission. We all have a mission that we come here with, and when we are like looking at death, we can respect the fact that if this person left the planet, that means that their mission was completed. They get to go home, and they get to go on their next adventure. And let's be honest, like, the world is so full of suffering that you can't help but like think about the fact that they must feel relief now, and especially some of the things that people suffer from, you know. So I was reading Dolores Cannon's book Between Life and Death, and you see, it's just like recently I've been doing a lot of heart chakra healing. So things have been coming up, and it kind of like started a domino effect. So I lost someone that I really cared about 2 years ago, and like 2 years ago to the day. So I thought that I had processed it fully, but I clearly didn't, and I should have known, because a lot of times when I think about him, I really cry a lot. He was an amazing person. He had an alcohol addiction that he died from, and the thing was, like, you know, we would go out and on dates every so often, and sorry, this is, like I said, a little hard for me. And the last time I saw him, I remember talking about wanting to actually date somebody that I was going to end up in a relationship with. And I remember him asking me, like, to be his girlfriend, but the thing was, like, he was an alcoholic, and, like, a lot of the things that happened, like, when we were hanging out, like, he would just fall asleep or whatever, and because he wasn't a bad person, there was never anything, like, bad happening. It was like, oh, he'd fall asleep, or, like, you know, the next morning he'd just have to get up and drink, and it was shitty, and I just didn't want, like, I didn't think that that was, like, a foundation for a healthy relationship, and so I started to distance myself. But he was also my friend first, so we were friends since elementary school. We lost contact there for a little while, but then we started talking again, and it was like for a long time. And then we had that last date, which was about like 8 months before he died. And I remember thinking 3 days before, like, oh, I should text him. Like I said, we were really good friends. We were really good friends. He was an amazing person. I felt very safe opening up to him. Our biggest problem was that I wanted to spend more time with him instead of him always falling asleep. Like, he was kind and honest, and he cared. And it's like, people can say all these things about alcoholics, but it's not about the substance. It's about the person, who they are underneath. And this man was amazing. Responsible, funny, and he meant a lot to me. And I didn't text him those 3 days before. Well, I felt guided to start reading this book, Between Life and Death by Dolores Cannon. And it was the night that I started reading it. And I was sleeping over at my grandma's, and I got the text that he was dead. And then, because this was the first time I was in a state of mind where I wanted to cope in a way that wasn't toxic, well, I had to figure out what to do, right? And it's like I went on a long walk, and I listened to music, because I always get messages through music, but it was really like the content that I read before that too, and then like me thinking like, oh, his mission is over, oh, he's not suffering anymore, like all these things. But I still had to go through the stages of grief. Now, I've been looking at this, the stages of grief, because, oh, that was another thing. So when I found out and all this happened, it triggered old stuff that I hadn't dealt with. So this one, it's like this one grief like blew up all this other stuff that was stored and that had to come out, that hadn't come out. And like, okay, hold on. So I was realizing that the stages of grief are very similar to the stages of the dark night of the soul. Now, at the time, I felt like maybe I was still in the dark night of the soul. Well, guess what? The dark night of the soul isn't just like you go through it and it's over. It's like every single time you're ready to up level and transform to like a higher level than you're at, in comes the dark night of the soul. Shit. I did not know that, but now I do. And usually, the first thing that comes in that triggers it is a loss or grief. So, if you are in a stage of your life where you are maybe going through loss yourself, whether that be through transition or through a breakup, then that could mean that you're on your way to up-leveling your life. So let's talk about the stages. So I'm going to first start with the stages of grief, and then we'll go into the dark night of the soul. Okay, so grief obviously comes. So, like, for me, denial was absolutely the first stage. Like, no, this isn't happening. No, he is not dead. Are you kidding me? Even with my grandma, my nanny that died, like, I was like, no, she's not. That was immediately where my brain goes to, and I'm sure everyone's does, because this is one of the stages of grief. It's stage 1. Now, whether that be I am going through a breakup, or whatever it is, because some people will be like, well, I don't care. So like their denial will be like, well, I don't care. Or if you're being left, like, oh, they'll come back, or whatever it is. But we have to face what's happening. But of course, that's one of the stages. You go through it, and it's like your brain is basically using this to like give yourself some time to process, because like when that happens, you're just like, what's happening? Like, what the fuck? And then it's like, okay, you know what? Let's just go into denial so we have time to like think about this. Think about, what the fuck is going on and why. Okay. So we have the denial. Like I said, yeah. It's like a defense mechanism for your brain. So obviously, the only way to get through this stage is to accept what is, and avoid avoidant tendencies. So obviously, you don't have to be happy about what's happening. Like, grief and loss is sad. This part of the human experience is fucking sad. But we have to accept it, and we have to be able to and willing to go through the emotional pain as well. Like, this fucking sucks and it hurts, right? And even with a higher perspective, like, their mission is over, they don't feel pain anymore, that doesn't take that heartbreak that you feel, that pain in your chest that just feels like your heart's getting squeezed. That is a real raw emotion. That is your heart being cracked open. And when your heart cracks open, it makes room for more light to enter. So, you don't want to be avoidant in these situations. You want to say, okay, this is what's happening. Like if it's a breakup, okay, this is what's happening. Like, what actions can I take, especially if it's a breakup, because you want to make sure you have to you have to cry, you have to express your emotions, you have to go through the process. That's what I'm trying to say. It's just because I know that there's like a higher understanding to it does not mean that I don't feel these human emotions that need to come out and be dealt with, because if we don't, then what happens? They get stored into the body. So, after we are out of denial, we go into anger. Now, anger can show up as different way, like in different ways to different people. Some people could be mad at God or source or spirit or whoever, whatever label you have for your higher power. Some people can be mad at themselves, like me. I could have definitely said, like, maybe if I would have just checked in like 3 days when I thought I should have, like those 3 days, and I didn't text him and I could have, like, would that have made a difference? And then you start getting mad at yourself. You start getting mad at circumstances around you, getting mad at the alcohol or just things not working out picture perfectly. And that's just how life is. Like, we transition from one stage to another, whether that be from life to death or from a breakup to being alone, or alone to being in a relationship is even a transition. It's not a loss, but it is a transition. There's different stages. Like even a job loss, right? We can talk about that too. Like, you were in one place for so long, you connected with this environment for so long, and now you're pulling yourself out of it. Some people don't have a problem with that, but some people do. They do get sad and like graduation goggles, right? And then they question everything, and that's another symptom of dark night of the soul. So once you're pissed, you yeah, so questioning. So anger leads to questioning. So why did this happen? Another part of the human experience is that we need to accept that we don't need to know everything, because at a higher level, our soul's learning things that our human would never understand. So you can say, why me all day? Why this all day? But even like situations you're in just in your day-to-day life, why did this happen? Maybe you don't need to know. Maybe it's for a reason, but either you're not like ready to know yet, or maybe you just don't need to know. Like, it could be something that your soul, it's for your soul. It's, this is higher knowledge. Why is like, this person leaving me? How could they? Like all this stuff, but it's like you have a journey, that person has a journey, and maybe your guys' journeys aren't meant to be together. Maybe it's meant to be apart, and it is for your greater and higher good. And that someday you'll find something different, and you'll be like, oh my God, this is why. But you don't always have to know why. And if you're angry with God or Source, I mean, that's like being angry at the trees for their leaves falling off in fall. It's just like that. That's just a part of life. This is what we all have to go through and deal with. So forgiveness is absolutely going to be your biggest friend in this stage of overcoming. So overcoming just being pissed, with forgiving yourself. Like, I forgive myself for not reaching out those 3 days before, because of the fact I was trying to distance myself, because I was trying to turn my life around, and I miss him all the time, and I wish I could just have one more conversation with him. But I can't sit here and blame anyone or myself, because it's just what happened. It's just what was written, right? Now, this is a little more tricky if it's not like about a death. Because, first of all, we should always be forgiving the people who have passed away, because obviously they came in with their own patterns and their own behaviors that they could have healed, and maybe it wasn't written for them to heal those in this lifetime. But we forgive them because underneath our souls know each other, and they came and they helped each other grow. But if it's like, obviously like a breakup, I know like a lot of breakups come with like the blame game, like you did this, you did that, you didn't show up this way, you didn't show up that way. It's like, I know that you didn't show up in the way that I wanted you to, but that's okay, because now I know what to look for. Now I know how to look like for what I want when I'm connecting with people. And you know what you don't want. And that just keeps you going one step closer to what it is you truly do want. Forgive, I mean, if someone cheated on you, it's just a pattern. It's just their patterning. It's not personal. It's like they came in here and they got that patterning probably from the generational line, the ancestral line. And unless they go in and heal that, it's going to keep playing out and out. And that's why sometimes you have to step away from people, because when you see their patterns playing out and out and they're not doing anything to heal them, you're subjecting yourself to that pattern. And it's like you have to remove yourself and say, you know what, you stay there with your pattern. I'm going to go over here and heal my heart. And then after that, we have bargaining. Now, For me, I'm not really too sure about bargaining in my own, like, process. I see that it says you'll start saying things like, oh God, if I act this way, please nothing bad ever happen to me again, or something like that, which I can see. I was never really angry at God, because I just loved God and God loved me, and I just felt like I couldn't, like, there's no way. But some people do. And I guess that would be like when I talk about, like, oh, trying to manipulate the universe, when you're like, if I get this, then I'll do that, or whatever it is. But I don't. It says that it can be flip-flopping between anger and bargaining. So, like, I guess I could see this in, like, for me, I feel like bargaining would be like I'm mad, and now I'm gonna use a bad coping mechanism, like drugs or alcohol, to numb my pain, which I am totally guilty of. I have done it, and it never works out good for me. And every single time I do it, I wish I didn't. I wish I wouldn't have. So that is something that I'm pulling back from, because it doesn't make anything feel any better. If anything, it makes things feel worse. It's like you can try to be fun, or like try to have this funness, because deep down you're really hurting, but it's not fun. It's just like slapping a bandage over an open wound that needs stitches. Anyways, so if you do decide to cope in a bad way, also practice forgiveness for that, forgiving yourself for the way you acted, because you were hurt, right? You're going through a process. It's messy. It's not just one and done. It's not just one day I cry it out and then it's done. It's a process, and it takes time. And then after you are done trying to numb out, bargaining, that's when the depression hits. And that's when it all comes out. And then not even just what's happening right in front of you, it's also things that you have stored that also elicit that response. So this thing that's making me feel sad, now I'm going to think about every single time anything like this has happened, right? And then you get into a very depressive state, and a lot of people just want to lie in bed, not talk to anybody, and just like ride it out. But the thing is, the more you're feeding that, this is why I had to do this video today. The more you're feeding that, the harder it gets to become unstuck out of it. You need a creative outlet. I felt all the grief building again, and I was like, I have to make a video. This is what I have to do. It's not even a want. It's an I have to do this now. And like, even just me being here talking right now, I can tell you I feel already better than I felt before I did this video. It was really getting to me. I mean, you could see it in my face. I haven't felt happy in days, and it was getting to me. And I was like, no, we have to transmute this energy, turn our pain into power. So what is my art? My videos. Let's do it. And then hopefully I can help someone else going through the same thing, because it sucks. And also a lot of anxiety comes with it. You feel very, very anxious. And then you're like freaking out because you feel anxious, and then you're like over fixated on every single part of your body, and it's just like, okay. Because you're not dealing with your emotions, now you're looking at everything else around you to find something wrong with, but it's because you need to deal with your emotions. It's that you're trying to bypass your emotions. Even with the higher perspective thing, like if I were to be like, oh, it's fine, la la da, this and that, it's like, that would just be me stuffing my emotions down, not feeling them, and pretending everything's all love and light. So the creative outlet is of the utmost importance. This is going to get the energy out. When you are staying in that energy and it's building within you, it's building within your body, then that's when it can become trapped. Because once you shove it down, like, okay, it's building, 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 what are you going to do with that energy now? If you shove it down and repress it, it's going to start tensing you up and getting stuck. But if you channel it into something, it doesn't have to be like a video. A lot of times talking about it helps. Like, you know, if you just need to talk to a counselor or something, I'm booking one-on-one sessions as a life coach. I am certified as an Earth Angel practitioner. If you'd like to book a session with me, you can DM me on my Instagram account, Cosmic Fractal of Light. Now, so you will need to rest and channel your emotions into something and rest. Okay, because when you're processing emotional energy, it takes your body a lot longer than when you're just like happy and processing things in your environment. Because now you're processing a lot of things, like a dense energies, and if you feel lazy or lack of motivation, that's where that's coming from. And so don't keep pushing yourself to do things that you can't do, because your body has to go through the process too. It's not just, it's an emotional process. It's a spiritual process. And so stay in bed, but I would say a week tops. And that's tops. That's me. I give myself a lot of grace when I'm going through these things. So, after that, you need to slowly start incorporating your routines and habits back into your life. And it doesn't matter if you feel like you need to cry, then cry. And this is where acceptance comes in. Because now you've been depressed, and you also have to accept the fact that you're depressed. You can't shove it down and say and be in denial about it. Yes, you're sad. Yes, you're sad and it sucks. Yes, you're sad and it fucking sucks and it hurts, and then you can feel everything. And it's a part of the human experience. When we're able to accept what's going on, understand you're sad. If you need counseling, get the counseling you need. If you need to take time for your emotional process, which you do, then do that. Take time. Accept. Talk to someone. And what will happen is that in accepting it, you're going to allow it to come out. So because you're using your creative outlet, that's going to help the energy move out so that it doesn't become stale and stagnant within you. And talking, that's going to exercise your throat chakra so that it's not stored here, because a lot of grief and fear can be stored here. And when you shove down grief, then it tends to turn into fears, because now you have a fear of loss because you didn't deal with it properly. Or you have a fear of abandonment because you didn't deal with it properly. Take time for your process. It's very important. And accept what's happening and keep living your life while you're going through this, because life doesn't stop just because we're in an emotional state, right? And also, like, and if it's if it's somebody that has died, or that, you're just not in a relationship with anymore, it's okay to miss them too. It's okay. They were a part of your life. They meant something to you. That doesn't just go away. But depending on the situation, like, you can't hyperfixate on someone's death all day and not live your life, because that's it's not healthy. And same thing with a breakup. You can't fixate on, this breakup all day and not live in the present. You have to accept what's happening, like, without this person may be coming back, or, you have to accept that you guys weren't made to be together forever. And you're both moving in different directions, And just be grateful for the time that you had together. Even with death, just be grateful for the time you got with that person, right? I can't tell you a timeline about, how long it will last. It really depends on what it is, right? And also, sometimes you will feel good and you'll feel happy, and then all of a sudden, boom, it hits you again. So it's not linear. It's like it's a roller coaster ride is what it is. And it's going to propel you into more emotional maturity by actually processing this grief. And it's also going to help you to release that energy, because it's a very dense energy, like I said. It should be transmuted. And the more you transmute dense energies like this, so it happens, and like I said, a lot of times triggers happen for things to come up and out. Then you're looking at all the times that this has happened. Then you're looking at the lesson. Okay, what is this teaching me? Okay, this is teaching me that I deserve more if it's a breakup, right? This is teaching me that I deserve more and I should put myself first always. Self-love first. If it's not a death of somebody else, this is teaching me, well, this was teaching me quite a lot, to be honest. And it got me to look into my past at things I didn't look at before, which was a huge win. So I took that and I took it as a blessing. And sometimes the lesson is that it's okay to be alone. It's okay to put yourself first and put your vision first in your life, and you have to put you first, because who else will, right? And when you do that and you learn to support yourself, you'll find others who support you. If people do not support you and they're not there for you, then those are not your people. So it's okay to be alone. It's okay to love yourself and not need validation or approval from other people. Now, let's talk about the dark night of the soul. So the stages of grief were about in direct connection to relationships with other. Self versus other. The dark night of the soul is about self versus the bigger picture in the universe. It usually is triggered by a loss, a tragedy, something traumatic, something that rocks your world, and it causes a big change for you in your life. This helps us to become redirected onto our path of becoming who and where we're meant to be. So if you're going this way, this is your path here, and then it's like, oh, you need to be over here. You need to be over here. You're in the wrong lane. Let's say all lanes are veering off into different directions, and you're on this lane, but you need to be on that lane. The universe will basically move you. Basically going to pick you up and put you where you need to be. So if you're in a relationship you're not supposed to be in, then the universe might send triggering events that something with that relationship happens, and then it's like you guys can't be together anymore. Or something like that. Or even like a job. Like if you're not meant to be in that job, it could be a big event, but it could also be when you just feel unsatisfied, when you feel unhappy. It's like because you're doing all these things that are not a part of your soul's purpose. And so you're kind of wasting your energy, and your spirit guides and the universe want you to get onto the path that you were meant to be on, what you came here to do, but you're staying in the wrong lane, and it's like, okay, well, if you're not going to choose to do it, we're going to help redirect you. So the dark night of the soul. So it says, It happens to us to guide us back to our purpose, pay back or balance karma, and understand deep karmic and spiritual lessons. So it's about breaking away from the illusions of fear and ego to shift our alignment and values to what is really real and true. The connection to the divine, and ultimately pave the way of your life purpose and mission here on earth. Okay, so spiritual awakening can be like the triggering event. So if you're going through a spiritual awakening and spirit's like all around you and you're seeing spirit like heavier than ever, and you aren't used to things like this and it's kind of freaking you out, that could even be like a form of like a, what is it called, like a catalyst for dark night of the soul, because maybe you didn't believe in spirit before, right? Or whatever it is. Okay, so back to it. Okay. So this triggering event could be a death, a illness, betrayal, injustice, abuse, job loss, or being in extreme poverty. Okay, so that's stage 1. Stage 2 is loss of direction and loss of hope. So this is where you're kind of just like, you know, like, this is how it is. This is where I'm at. Is there anything more than this? Is this all that there is? There has to be more, right? Like, how can this be all that there is? And you're looking at your life and you're thinking, if I have to live the rest of my life in this place, like the place you are vibrationally, I mean, same job, same everything that you're unhappy with, and you just feel like, oh my God, like, I don't know where I'm going. I know where I don't want to be here anymore. Like, you're stuck in your routine and you're sick of it. And then you also are like feeling hopeless. You're just like, I don't feel anything. I don't feel anything. Why don't I feel anything? And then you don't really have any hope that you will ever feel anything. So you're just depressed, sad. Life is meaningless. And then, because you're feeling that way, then that's when you go down, down, down. Oh, coming in, like, maybe you're, you know, using something, an addiction or whatever it is, or a person, or anything. You can even use food, like, just to get you to feel something, like, just because that keeps you feeling something, so you don't have to deal with the fact that you feel like life is meaningless. This is when the pressure is created, and then you're like, okay, I'm closing down my heart. That's it. I'm closing down my heart. And then you start doing things out of personal gain. So that's where your ego comes in. Now I'm only going to live from the ego, and I'm going to use this person because they can give me this, and I'm going to use that person because they can give me that. But that doesn't always last, because then you end up closing off, and then eventually you don't want to be around people at all. So you're just like, you know what, just push them all the way. I'll figure this out on my own, or like keep around the ones that help you the most, or whatever it is. And you are numbing, and then once you start being self-destructive, self-sabotaging, you start losing people in your life. This doesn't always have to be bad, okay? Let's talk about if the fact, like, you're going through a second dark night of the soul, third dark night of the soul, and your vibration is shifting, then people are going to fall out of your life because they don't, like, resonate with that vibration of you anymore. And you'll see in your values, like, oh, this person's values is this, and mine used to be that too, but I've changed, and now we aren't on the same page anymore. And that will cause disconnect. That will cause not resonant, and people fall off. So it doesn't always have to be bad, but it is still the dark night of the soul in a smaller form, because of the fact that It is what you didn't know. It is what you were connected to, and it is what you're losing. You are going through another ending, a death and a rebirth, and yeah, it's hard. And sometimes we get put in a hermit phase by the universe, which means the universe clears everyone out of our life. So relationships might blow up, things might become destructive, and maybe like no one wants to talk to you, I don't know. And then you get put in the corner alone, to be alone, because the universe is like, okay, now you need to be in the hermit mode and do some soul searching. It's time for introspection. And when you start doing that, then you start to see the light. So the truth is shown to you. What's truth? It's up to what you're going through. So the truth could be that you're moving up in vibration, so those people don't resonate with you anymore. And maybe you're going to start getting an insight to what to go after next. Or it could be that you're being self-destructive, self-sabotaging. It could be that you're not acting in a way that's actually in accordance with your soul, and then you wake up to that truth. Maybe you're waking up to the truth of that fact that you're a spiritual being and spirit speaks to you. Either way, you will begin to wake up. When this happens, you will have physical symptoms. These include headaches, nausea, body aches. You can also have some emotional symptoms and psychological, so mental. So this is when you really start to journey in. It's like you're your own guide. The only person that, of course, you can look to somebody else who's gone through it before, but at the end of the day, they're meant to guide you back to you. You are taking your own soul journey in, back home to self, back home to our source, creator, spirit. You and spirit are one. You're finding spirit within. You're finding that you are spirit, and that you have a set out plan for yourself for what your purpose is. And you go in, and then you have to connect with your shadows, connect with aspects of you that are operating from ego, because that's when you're going to start closing out things, let's say like lanes, like you're going to start blocking off lanes, and then you're going to finally get onto that lane that you're supposed to be on. And then, you know, this is when you learn. So if it's, I'm waking up to the fact that I am a spiritual being, then you're probably going to start studying spiritual things. If you're waking up to the fact that you, I don't know, maybe you've been on the spiritual path for a while, but now you're waking up to the fact that you're going to do something greater. So like maybe you found your niche or whatever it is. So you're going to go and specialize in that area. Maybe you're just waking up to the fact that you haven't been treating yourself the best, or that somebody around you is being deceptive. Then that is something else. You'll probably have to study how to move on from heartbreak or whatever it is. And that is probably going to help you propel yourself onto your soul's journey, where you can help other people do the same as well. So you're going to start studying, you're going to start becoming curious about the meaning of life, what's on the other side, the veil, the 7 veils of illusion, the Maya, spiritual enlightenment, and all kinds of things. Maybe religions. I went into a big religion phase. And then after that, after you go through all that, you finally get to this place where you find peace, and you're like, oh, and you understand. So that higher knowledge I was talking about at the beginning is gained through going through the dark night of the soul, right? So you gain that spiritual knowledge, and it gives you a sense of peace. And it doesn't mean that it's going to always be there. Like, I also have been going through many dark nights of the soul when things are going to change. And yeah, it is always hard, because I'm somebody who's generally happy most of the time, and so I live in these very, very high states, and then when I feel sad, it feels like, okay, I know I have to deal with it, but it's not where I'm used to being, so it's a little off-putting. But I am the kind of person that goes just like, let's go, then let's just do this, let's just dive in. What can I do? And then I think one of my problems is that I sometimes dive in too much, and they're like, come back up for air. You have been down there for too long. You need to just live simply for a little bit before you go back down in there. And that's something I've been noticing a lot too about myself, is that I need to know when to pull myself out. And just, because like my life is a never-ending healing journey, and I've made peace with that. But since it is that way, I do need to remove myself from my own inner world occasionally, and just have some regular human fun. So after that, you start to figure out who you are. You get acquainted with new belief systems. You get acquainted with new values, morals. How do you want to live? Which set of rules do you want to live by? What character do you want to play? You know, all these things. Which character are you made to play? What traits do you have about yourself, and how can you utilize those in serving the greater good of humanity? Now you're looking at all the right things. Now you're seeing. And that, because of that, you start to embody authenticity, and you get to be yourself. With that will come, like, you can't be afraid of people judging you. I mean, you can, but it's not going to serve you. Especially because authenticity is, it tends to be not what society likes. And so when you're just being you authentically, and you don't give a fuck, and you're not ashamed to be you, because you know every single part of you is beautiful. And that is one thing I miss about my friend that died, is that he didn't give a fuck. He was like, you know what, Kayla, yeah, you're a fucking mess sometimes, but I'd still hang out with you any day. And I fucking miss him. And I know it wouldn't even be the same if he was alive, because we would both be in different places, but that was unconditional love. And you have to love yourself enough to say, fuck what people are thinking about me. What does that mean to me anyways? Okay, they think that. That's cool. So what? What does that mean? What happens now? They had a thought about me? What happens now? Come on. Oh, they're talking about me? What happens now? Nothing. You live your life still. They live their life still. So that, my friends, is the dark night of the soul. And after the dark night of the soul, when you come into living your purpose, living on purpose, you get to start, guess what? Doing soul work. And sometimes that is it comes with healing. The dark night of the soul is here to help you heal. And to come back into your spiritual self, and to realize that there's two sides of us. There's a logical side and a spiritual side, and they both need to be working together to make a whole. Like, one is not more important than the other. They both matter, and they're both a reason why you're here. And there's a material reason why you are here too. And how can you heal yourself in order to clear away the debris and the blockages, so that you can uncover the truth of your being? Now let's get a chakra card. Creative manifestation. I have the ability to manifest and create positive outcomes in my life. It is a time for me to manifest what I need. I ask myself, what do I need? I am optimistic and creative in carrying out all of the tasks that come my way, even seemingly mundane ones, and I maintain a positive attitude in all that I do. I am open to receive, and I am deserving. It's funny because I always see this quote that's like, okay, so what do you do before enlightenment? It's like, drink water, chop wood. And then it's like, oh, and then enlightenment happens. Now, what do you do after enlightenment? Drink water, chop wood. Like, it's a state of being. It's it's a wisdom, a knowledge. It's an innate part of self. And you're still going to have to wash the dishes after, I don't know, like, some people think that it's like, oh, we're going to get some angel wings and fly right out of here. Like, you're still going to have to clean your restroom and do all the the regular human things and figure out how to pay your bills and all that. But yeah, it's just funny because you can. So now it's about asking yourself, what do you need? What do you need, especially if you're going through a process, to get yourself back into health? Mental, emotional, spiritual. I do aura cleanses. I do chakra cleanses. I make sure I'm nourishing my body. I make sure I'm getting enough exercise. I'm getting enough water. Salt baths. A lot of energy work I do. I do a lot of energy work because your energy body is where it all starts. And the aura, if you're out about and around a lot of people, you will pick up little debris from other people's auras, their thought forms. Even if somebody's thinking about you negatively, or not even negatively, if they're just like doubting you or feeling anxious about you and it's projected onto you, that's going to pop up in your aura. And when you set the intention, you like, if you don't want to sit there and do a meditation, just set the intention. Please, I intend for my guides to help me clear my aura. And they will. And then you can also just say, I intend for my aura to stay filtered throughout the day. It's about intention. The power of intention, it's so powerful. I'm going to do my tarot on Instagram, I think, because it's already at 56 minutes. I do whatever it takes to get closer to consciousness. So this is a like, what are you avoiding? Why? Look at it. Like, you know what you're avoiding. What do you think about, or what do you see that automatically your brain goes somewhere else? You know what it is. Look at it. What are you avoiding? Because your blind spots are how you get closer to consciousness. Okay, this is my blind spot. Let's look at it so that it's not blind anymore. And then I can hold that too. Now that's just another emotion or a thought or whatever pattern that I can see without judgment. You don't need to judge yourself for anything ever. Everything's for a reason. You do just get to say, you know what, that doesn't resonate with me anymore. I did that doesn't resonate with me anymore. In every moment, the universe is conspiring to bring me towards right-minded thinking and the energy of love. Exactly what I'm saying. Right-minded thinking. One of the eightfold path of the Buddhists is right view. So for like a year or so, I did the eightfold path for a whole year, and I would go like review each one of the 8 things at night before I went to bed. And of course, you're not going to be perfect. You can't just say, I'm going to try to be this way, and then it happens overnight. Of course not. You can love yourself through it and say, oh shoot, I did that again. That's just my pattern. I know that it'll fall off. Once I keep making the right decision that I want to make, then the smaller that gets, because you're making this one, until eventually it's no longer there. I always trust the direction of the universe and know that I'm being guided. If you are being redirected by the universe through the dark night of the soul, then you know the universe has your back, and this is for your greater and higher good. That abundance will be yours. Everything that you want or dream will be yours, but it's going to come after what precedes creation, destruction. So your world will maybe be falling apart for something better to come in, right? Who's next? Angels and Ancestors. I'm so grateful for you guys today. Thank you so much for this video. Thank you so much for helping me to share my wisdom and knowledge with all my viewers. I'm so grateful to you, Spirit. Earth Mother. Earth Mother. Feel loved and comforted. It's like a homecoming, this card. It just feels like home. Allow yourself to be cherished. Earth Mother is protecting you with a shield of love and light. Earth Mother is the female counterpart to Sky Father. It's auspicious to receive this card because in the eyes and heart of Earth Mother, you are her child, and she is highly protective of her baby and will give you everything you need to grow and expand. Earth Mother is not only covered by leaves in this card, showing the vulnerability of the earth. Every day she experiences challenges that she has to adapt to and overcome. Her energy, represented by the symbol of the pagan triple goddess, maiden, mother, and crone behind her, can help you adapt as changes of life come your way. You may have felt overwhelmed or out of control emotionally recently, but you are now moving back to your natural center, and that will bring you to a place of clarity and openness. If you have felt ungrounded, know that Earth Mother is here to root you and to help you regain your sense of strength. You may not feel like a child, but in the eyes of the divine, you are a child of light, and it's important that you feel loved and that you know that. If you have had challenges with your mother or with being a mother yourself, know the energies of mother healing are with you to help clear any ancestral blockages that are preventing you from making this sacred love connection. You are being guided to make choices that are based on love. Yes, I was going to say that. A lot of people are living from fear. And when, okay, hold on. There was another thing I wanted to say real quick. If you have problems with your own mother, if you had a mother that was in toxic patterning, that couldn't love you properly, or hovered over you and was too overprotective, that's gonna cause a kink in your ability to give and receive love. So it's really important to do mother healing work, forgive, and it's going to open you up to unconditional love and being able to give it and receive it. Now back to what I was saying. A lot of people make decisions based on fear, and you just hear this like out in the daily world for somebody saying like, it's just little things like, oh, I wouldn't do that because, like I'll get pulled over, or even like people who are like, I don't want this to go to waste. Like, I understand using all of everything, but not wanting something to go to waste is a lack mindset. And then the other one is the fear, right? So now we're dictating our feelings from fear. I do this because I'm afraid of whatever. And it's like a lot of people are like, I think it's just programming. I just think we've been programmed to be afraid of everything. And so like that's just our patterned responses to like move away from fear. But what we should be doing is moving towards what we want instead of away from fear. Just like, okay, fear's there, chill, sit down. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to let my inner guidance guide me. Oh, I want to get one more. Ooh. Okay, I'm going to get two more because two came out. Great teacher. Learn from spiritual experiences. Know that what is happening around you is divinely inspired. Learn from your current experiences and then share them with others. This card was inspired by Jesus, who is one of the most widely acknowledged and loved spiritual teachers of all time. But there is a great teacher in every tradition, and this card represents the one whom you feel closest, as well as the teacher within. The teacher wears simple clothes here to demonstrate that even if you live a simple life, it can be an incredibly spiritual one too. He is surrounded by a sense of serenity and harmony because he has absolute trust in the higher power that moves through him. And the dove on the card represents receiving answers to prayers through signs and experiencing peace through joy. And that's another thing is that when we are constantly saying like why, like the anger stage of grief, why is this happening? Like, and I said you don't need to know why. We have to learn to trust the Great Spirit, Ascended Master Jesus, Great Mother, any of the Ascended Masters, Buddha, Merlin, Elmoria, I think that's King Arthur in his past life, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of Ascended Masters. There's the archangels. We just trust them. We trust them because we are the light. And we know that this lifetime is going to be like you're destined for greatness. What happens is you will have to go through these things and go through the switch up every so often, but it's only because you're going to be rising higher and higher, right? So I think that we can just trust that they're putting us through these trials and tribulations for a greater purpose, for our inner strength and fortitude, and our mission further. This card could represent a teacher in your life or the great teacher within. Either way, it shows that you have dedicated a lot of time, effort, and energy to understanding yourself and the world. You are having spiritual experiences at this time and gaining a greater awareness of what you need to do in order to grow. There is a chance that if you have been having any challenges recently, you've surmounted them and allowed them to be vehicles to lessons that are helping your spiritual connection. If you feel that you have received messages from heaven or the universe recently, this card is confirmation that these have indeed been holy experiences. Oh, I knew it. See, I was picking up on that earlier when I said maybe spirits around you. I was really picking up on that. And I also want to say, like, I had been taking a break from videos, but it's like, and I was, being sad and going through my process. As soon as I started doing my video again, I feel better, like, already. Like, this is what happens when you're not on your soulmate path and you're not doing what you need to be doing. Then you don't feel like anything's going right, or you're not where you need to be. As soon as I start doing this video, I immediately felt relief. Be fearless and stand strong. Don't back down. Make your opinions heard. Don't settle for second best. A warrior is anyone who is ready and willing to know themselves and to do what needs to be done in order to get where they want to be. In this deck, the warrior embodies fierce primal love, the warrior within. The energy you can call on to protect yourself, even if you don't think you love yourself. If you are exposed to a situation that could be harmful or dangerous, the steps you take to protect yourself are in fact acts of fierce love. Although the warrior in this card is surrounded by darkness, he is of the light. The warrior within is made of light and has the capacity to shine even more brightly when facing darkness head on. If you're experiencing fear at this time, know that this means whatever is going on is important to you. Whether you feel fear, you are on the verge of something big, perhaps a massive breakthrough that is going to really help you forward. If you have a situation on your hands where you have to face someone or something that's been unsettling to you, know that you are being guided to call up your inner warrior. Don't falter and don't be frightened, because you have the energy to protect yourself now and at all times. Okay, I don't know what this is, but fear is also a sign that something's getting shooken loose in you and that you're about to go into your next level. Fear is also an indicator. Do not give your power away to people to make them get you to feel fearful, first of all. And second of all, like, shit, what was I going to say? Damn it, that was important. Yeah, don't give your power away, ever, especially to people who are trying to bully you, manipulate you, narcissists. When you see fear, it's because it's something you care about, right? So you wouldn't feel fearful if it wasn't directly related to something you care about. If it's related to your health, then that means you care about yourself, and that's good. If it's related to just you, like maybe there's some reason that you need to be standing your ground. You don't need to be afraid to. Courage is one of the most beautiful things that we can gain, and the only way that we can exercise our courage and get it to grow is by experiencing fear and saying, no fear, I'm going to do this anyway. No, I'm going to stand up for myself. No, I'm going to speak what I want to say, and I'm not going to back down because you are making me feel small. But also, we don't want to win at all costs either. So, like, if there's, like, that you're going to be fighting a losing battle and wasting energy, just remove yourself from the situation. You do not need to win at all costs. Okay, last but not least, I'll do one spirit ally, and then I will see you over on Instagram for my tarot reading of the day, just because I have, you know, all this time already on here, and I just want to wrap it up. I was trying to make my videos shorter, but I was wrong. Okay, Spirit, please one last one to leave us on. It's the unicorn. Magic is real. Past the towering trees and misted forest floor, unicorn takes a sip from the river. Its black coat glimmers in the sunlight that peeks through the leaves, and its horn sparkles and shines. It looks out at the natural beauty that the forest presents. Dew-coated leaves catch its eye, and fragrant wildflowers engulfs its senses. Unicorn teaches that magic is not limited to extraordinary events. Magic can be found from the moment you wake up to the moment you let your head rest at night. Whether it's the flowers that open in your morning tea, or the way that the sun shines just right before it sets, there is always magic to be found. Remain open to the mystical simplicities that are sprinkled throughout your day. Sometimes it's these little pieces of magic that can turn the hardest day around. What are some of your favorite magical moments? I love that. So, when you're in fear, because it's feeling like anxiety and fear, you can listen to grounding frequency. You're going to need a ground, so I would say listening to grounding frequency. Just type in grounding frequency on YouTube. Breathing, getting back to your breath. When you have anxiety, you can breathe in 3 seconds. So 1, 2, 3 in, hold for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, out for 5. Do that a few times. That should help your anxiety. If you're having fear, being present, bringing all your awareness back to what you're doing and saying, this is the only moment here and now. Nothing else matters. Look for things that are beautiful around you. That's going to help you. I actually was experiencing some things around anxiety recently too, but I told you it's because of the grief that was coming up. So I've had to really lean on my techniques. Okay, well, I really hope this helped you. It wasn't easy for me, but I feel like I can get back to myself now that I've and I'm still going through my process, but of course, I'm so grateful for you being here. And see me on Instagram for the tarot. Have a great week.